Neurodiversity is a term applied to those with neurological differences, including dyslexia, dyspraxia, ADHD, or those on the autistic spectrum. When it comes to creating digital content for neurodiverse users, it's important to consider web accessibility. Web accessibility is achieved when websites, tools, and technologies are designed and developed so that a neurodiverse audience can use them. When the recent WCAG guidelines were released, its main focus was on improving accessibility for neurodiverse users, not only for desktops that have screen readers, but also for many mobile and tablet devices. When it comes to designing online resources, there are some important guidelines which we can all follow to ensure everyone has a positive user experience. Let's start with typography. What is typography? Typography can be described as a way of choosing how to lay out text in design, including size, style, and overall appearance. Typefaces are the foundation of accessible visual reading experiences. By selecting the appropriate one, it enhances legibility and readability for those that might be visually impaired, have learning disabilities, or are dyslexic. Evidence suggests using more humanist fonts as they can enhance the reading of dyslexic users. Serif fonts have been found to be less readable for a neurodiverse audience. Serif characters have tails and ticks on the end of most strokes, which obscure the shapes of letters. Neurodiverse readers generally fare better with sans serif fonts. Here are a few fonts that you can consider in your designs. The monospaced fonts, such as Courier New, are great for neurodiverse users since confusion between letters is minimized. The size of the stems on letters like B and P, the ascenders and descenders, also play an important role. This is because, due to lessened phonological awareness, many users with dyslexia rely on remembering the visual shapes of words. The shape of the words becomes even harder to decipher if the descenders and ascenders are too short, which results in less accurate and slower reading. Type size is also key. Neurodiverse users should always have the option of resizing text to meet their needs. Most, if not all, internet browsers allow the user to increase the size of the text, which can improve their readability experience. Increasing character spacing can also help. Why is colour important? There is evidence that suggests reducing colour contrast across the board can, to some extent, alleviate reading difficulties dyslexic users experience. It's hard to say what percentage of dyslexics suffer from scotopic sensitivity syndrome, or SSS. SSS is a visual defect related to difficulties with light source, glare, luminescence, wavelength, and black and white contrast. This takes us onto the importance of colour contrast ratio. Colour contrast refers to the difference in colour between the font and its background. To meet AA standards of WCAG 2.1, a contrast ratio of at least 4.5 to 1 for normal text and 3 to 1 for large text is required. There are many online tools that help you to decide how to pick colours for online reading. For example, Who Can Use? This is a tool that not only lets you check a foreground-background colour combination contrast ratio, but also lets you preview this combination with different colour blindness simulations and the percentage of the population that is targeted. It's also important for online content creators designing for autistic people to keep colour restrictions and triggers in mind. While colour plays an important part in learning, we should refrain from using colour as the only way to present information, because you could potentially exclude some users who may not be able to see all of the colours. It's important to understand the preferences and needs of the audience you're designing for. When designing learning materials for a neurodivergent audience, it is recommended to distinguish any documents with images. Graphical illustrations can help bring in the structure, routine, and sequence that most neurodiverse users benefit from. For example, some users on the autistic spectrum might be highly dependent on visual cues in order to comprehend what's expected of them. For users with dyslexia, presenting information in the form of images alleviates the hassle of deciphering lengthy bodies of text. There are also other areas to consider when using icons and images. Too many images can confuse readers. Superimposing text over graphics makes it harder to process and decipher. Colourful clip art can be bewildering. Choose simple icons with no more than 1 or 2 shades. Text-to-speech technologies cannot process and read images of text. If you need to include an image of text, be sure to also include the same information in written text. What about visual hierarchy? Neurodivergent users can benefit from a clear visual hierarchy to aid comprehension. Users should be able to recognise the top 3 most vital elements of content from their colour, shape, and position alone. Some neurodivergent users might miss aspects of content, particularly when the entire content must be read to be understood. Therefore, adopting a form of visual hierarchy enables individuals to consume content effectively. Remember, understanding all of these design principles enables content creators to design resources that are easier to understand, but also improving readability and learning for a neurodiverse audience. We hope this video has helped you understand why accessibility is important for neurodiverse users, and that you feel confident in designing content that is universal.